All right, so get this. Back in 2003, the CIA declassified this document that honestly reads more like a wild sci-fi movie script than some dry government report. We're talking about a serious official investigation into things like transcendental meditation, astral projection, and, the very nature of reality itself. So let's pull back the curtain on this thing because it is absolutely fascinating. This is the gateway process. And here it is. This is the actual cover page. You can see the date right there, June 9th, 1983. So we're not talking about some internet forum post or a random conspiracy theory here. Nope, this is an official report, Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process. It was written for the U.S. Army by a lieutenant colonel named Wayne M. McDonald. And his job? To figure out if this kind of bizarre process could actually have any practical, real-world use for the military. Wild, right?
So the whole entire report, it really boils down to this one absolutely wild question. And it gets right to the heart of what they were looking into. Could you actually train your mind to access other dimensions? Is it possible to teach your own consciousness to go beyond the physical world, to actually escape the normal rules of time and space that we all live by?
Okay, so what is this gateway experience they're talking about? Well, according to the report, it's basically a training system. The whole goal is to get the left and right sides of your brain, your two hemispheres, to sync up their brain waves. When they do that, it's supposed to create this incredibly powerful state of focus. A focus so intense that it could theoretically allow your consciousness to, transcend your physical body. And the author, McDonald, he makes it super clear that this was no casual memo. This was a deep dive. To even begin to assess if this stuff was valid, he had to pull from all over the place. We're talking biomedical models, quantum mechanics, even theoretical physics, just to try and build a scientific framework for how and why this process could possibly work. So yeah, this was a serious attempt to understand something pretty extraordinary. So how in the world did the report claim any of this was even possible? Well, it all starts with what you could basically call a biohack. The foundation of the whole gateway process is this. Before you can do anything else, you have to get the left and right hemispheres of your brain to stop doing their own thing and start working together in a very specific, synchronized way. And the key to this brain hack, the core technology they talk about, is something called hemi-sync. It was actually developed by a place called the Monroe Institute. Here's how it works. You put on headphones, and it plays a slightly different audio frequency in each ear. Your brain, trying to make sense of this, gets kind of tricked. It creates a third phantom beat inside your head. And that beat is what supposedly gets your brainwaves all synced up, creating that super deep state of focus. The report actually has this fantastic analogy to explain it. Think about an ordinary, unfocused mind. It's like a regular lamp. The light and energy just kind of scatter all over the place, chaotically. But a mind that's in that hemi-sync state, that's like a laser. All that mental energy becomes a single, coherent, disciplined beam. And that focused, powerful energy, that's the absolute key for what they say comes next. Now, the science behind this, or at least the science the report claims, is a real thing called the frequency following response. It's basically this natural tendency your brain has to try and match the rhythm of sounds it hears. It wants to sync up. So hemi-sync it hijacks that natural response. It uses it to guide your brain from its normal awake state all the way down into a deeply relaxed theta state. That's the same brainwave state you find in super deep meditation, right on that edge between being awake and falling asleep. Okay, so here's the crucial turning point. Once the brain is tuned to this special frequency, the report suggests that it can now perceive reality in a completely different way. And believe me, this is where the theory goes from interesting to, truly mind-bending. This is probably the single biggest idea in the entire document. The report claims that our universe, it's not really a collection of things or physical objects at all. Instead, it says the universe is a gigantic, unbelievably complex hologram. That solid world you think you're living in? According to this, it's just an interference pattern made of energy. And our consciousness, that's the thing that decodes the pattern and makes it seem real to us. So in this model, everything is just energy, vibrating at different speeds. A rock, a tree, even a thought in your head, it's all just energy fields.
This means consciousness isn't some separate, spooky thing. It's part of the exact same universal hologram as everything else. And if that's true, it means your consciousness can't just read information from the universe, it could potentially write information back into it. Think about that for a second.
The report even has this diagram to show how the brain fits into this whole holographic idea. It's pretty wild. It basically says your right hemisphere acts like the main antenna. It's what picks up all this raw holographic data from the universe. Then your left hemisphere works like the computer's software, decoding all that data and putting it together to construct the 3D reality that we all experience every day.
Okay, so if we're running with this holographic universe idea, the report then explains how a person could, in theory, actually leave our physical reality behind. I mean, if your consciousness is just an energy pattern, right? Then it stands to reason you could change its frequency, maybe tune it to a vibration that's just not part of our dimension of time and space anymore.
And to try and ground this in some kind of actual science, the report brings up a real concept from physics called Planck's distance. It's the absolute smallest unit of measurement that can exist. You can think of it like the fundamental pixel of our reality. The document claims that if a person could get their consciousness to vibrate at that incredibly tiny fundamental frequency, it would essentially click out of our dimension. Just gone.
And this diagram from the report shows exactly that moment. It's trying to visualize the consciousness as an energy wave vibrating so fast that it literally slips right through the very fabric of our time and space. And where does it go? It enters what the document calls the absolute, some kind of infinite realm that's completely free from all the physical laws that we're used to.
So I'm sure you're wondering the same thing I was. Why? Why on earth would the US Army and the CIA be so interested in all this? What's the point? What's the practical application of, clicking out of reality? Well, as it turns out, the report outlines some very specific and, frankly, very powerful potential uses. And it's not just theory. The report actually lays out a step-by-step path to get there. It's a clear progression. A person would use the hemi-sync audio and their own focused intention to move from simple relaxation to having an out-of-body experience, and then finally to escaping time-space, to access these other dimensions where all these crazy applications are supposed to be possible. And these potential applications, they are just stunning. I mean, this is straight out of science fiction. The report suggests that the gateway process could be used for things like next-level problem solving by tapping into some universal intuition, or something they call patterning, which is literally imposing your consciousness onto reality to make something happen. And then there's remote viewing, seeing things far away, and even a form of time travel, where you could access information from both the past and the future.
The whole entire theory really comes together in this one incredible diagram called the cosmic egg. It's their model for the entire universe. They see it as this self-contained hologram, kind of shaped like a donut, or what physicists call a torus. In this model, our reality is just stuck in this constant loop. It's born out of a white hole, it expands, and then it eventually collapses back into a black hole, only to start the whole cycle over again. So what this means is that the ultimate journey for a piece of consciousness, it isn't really an end, it's more like a homecoming. After this long, long journey through the cosmic egg of our reality, it just returns. It rejoins the absolute, that infinite, timeless ocean of pure awareness where everything began in the first place. So in the end, this declassified report doesn't really give us any final answers. Instead, it leaves us with these incredibly profound questions. It really forces you to wonder, is your own consciousness just some random biological accident? Or could it be the fundamental force that actually organizes and gives meaning to the entire universe? And that's a question worth thinking about.